speakers on different topics from diabetes to algae and computers. And today promises to be really exciting. We have 6 female scientists who are going to be talking about their research. First on the lineup is Dr. Oluwatoyin Fabiyi, and she will be talking about soil worms and plant health. Enjoy.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Dr. Mrs. Fabiyi Oluwatoyin Adenike. I welcome you to my soapbox. I will be talking to you on soil worms and plant health. I studied agriculture with specialization in crop protection, and my primary discipline is nematology. What is nematology? You may want to ask. Nematology is the study of nematodes. Basically, plant parasitic nematodes. Nematodes are soil worms which inhabit the soil. They are microscopic in nature. They cannot be seen with the naked eyes unless with the aid of a microscope. While inhabiting the soil, nematodes feed on plant roots. Nature made it so. The plants are naturally designed to take nutrients and water from the soil with their roots. But nematode feeding disturbs the natural functioning of the plant system. The plants, in reaction to this, turns yellow, they lose vigor, they become weak, they don't mature early. All this results in low yield for the farmers. In some cases, the farmer records total crop failure. Nematodes are diverse. There are so many of them. The type of nematode you find under your maize is different from what you find on the groundnuts. What you find on groundnuts is different from what you find on your potatoes. The control of plant parasitic nematodes has been with the use of synthetic nematicides. However, this is unsafe for humans and the environment. There are cases of pesticide poisoning. Sometimes in this country, when people eat beans, they die, or akara. Furthermore, pesticide residues have been detected in rivers, streams, lakes, wells, and boreholes. Also, pesticide residues move from the farm to the market with vegetables and fruits. On account of this, my team has developed bulk pesticides and seed materials for the control of plant parasitic nematodes. Let me take you through what we do. For medicinal plants, we have isolated active principles through chromatography. We have also delved into nanotechnology to prepare nanomaterials through green synthesis in our quest for nematode management. Find here our Ewedu field. Ewedu is a plant that is often susceptible to nematode infestation. On this field, the plants were treated with our biomaterials. Infested roots are usually with knots that we call growing in nematology. The roots here are showing signs of infestation, while the treated healthy roots is normal. The rice plants here are also treated with our biopesticide. Cabbage is an important vegetable and it is also affected by nematodes. So the treated plants here have nice fine roots, while the untreated cabbage plants are showing signs of infestation. The growing of nematodes is pronounced on the cabbage roots. Likewise, carrots. The infested plants are stunted and not growing well. The treated carrots are nice and clean with fine roots. We also used our materials on groundnuts and the result was quite impressive. Our tomatoes are cultivated under the Waste to Wealth initiative. Here, we used cocoa pods as soil amendments in growing tomatoes and the result was a bountiful harvest. Maize, an important crop grown in tropical and subtropical regions of the world. It has the highest production level among other cereals. It is in high demand due to its relevance for human consumption. It is an important source of carbohydrates, protein, phosphorus, and crude fiber. Plant parasitic nematodes are a major constraint in maize production. They induce close to 50% yield loss. The yield of maize is lower than the general demand of the populace due to the incidence of nematodes on the field. With the application of our biopesticide, the maize yield has increased substantially. We have harvested 2.1 tons per hectare from our treated field. We have achieved significantly in treating plants with our safe materials. It is important to cultivate healthy plants without damaging the environment. Nematology is an interesting science. Love nematodes, study nematodes. I thank you all for your attention.
Thank you very much, Dr. Fabi, for that informative talk. Wow, really interesting. Remember, everyone, to please post your questions in the comment box. And now we move on to our next speaker, Mrs. Folashade Olufunke Lawal, and she will be talking about 1 plus 1 is not equal to 2, medications and mathematics. Very interesting. See you on the other side.
Hello everybody, I'm delighted to share with us my areas of interest in research. As a little child, I loved mathematics and I grew up wanting to be a mathematician. That mission, that idea kept me up through secondary school, but something happened in secondary school. During long vacations, we visited my maternal grandfather, who was a herbalist, and he would take me to his garden and we would pick herbs for people to get well. I started to love using herbs to help people get well, and my love for mathematics was also there. So along the line, I decided to study something that would make me help people get better, using my knowledge of mathematics as well. So I found myself becoming a pharmacist. Very interesting. In my pharmacy practice, I have come also across so many interesting things. Let me ask us some questions. Suppose you're asked to take a medicine, one tablet every 12 hours. That means 2 times a day. Is it the same thing as taking the same medicine, 2 tablets at once? 2 tablets every 24 hours. Is it the same thing as one tablet every 12 hours, 2 times a day? I will also ask us another question. If somebody weighs 50 kg and the person needs 2 tablets of a medication to get well, will the person who weighs 100 kilograms need 4 tablets of the same medication to get well? My third question is this. Somebody who is hypertensive and is on medications to bring down his blood pressure. If within 1 month his blood pressure got reduced from 150/100 to 130/80, in the next 1 month, what do you think his blood pressure will be? All those are mathematics. It doesn't work out like that in reality. I'll give us some interesting cases. There was this young lady called Comfort. Comfort had malaria and she saw a pharmacist. A pharmacist advised her to take anti-malaria, 1 tablet every 12 hours, that is 2 times a day for 3 days. Comfort decided to take 2 tablets once a day for 3 days. At the end of 3 days, Comfort did not get better and she was worried. She went back to see her pharmacist. Then she told her pharmacist that she took the tablets, two tablets daily for 3 days. Her pharmacist said she was lucky that she didn't get harmed, because combining a high dose of the 2 tablets once could have created some harm if it was some other drugs. Apart from that, now that she didn't take her medicines in a way to kill off the parasites as expected, the ones that didn't die might become stubborn and we say they become resistant. That's how many resistant strains are bred. So Comfort, by not taking her medication appropriately, could be breeding resistant strains of malaria parasites, apart from not getting well. You see, that's a whole lot of problems. Let's look at the other man too, who wanted to take 4 tablets because somebody weighing 50 kg took 2 tablets. He felt that somebody weighing no, it doesn't work out like that. In medicine, so many things happen. So many things determine how the drug works. And there's a bar, there's a calculated dose that must be respected, because once we take in medicine, a lot of processes happen. Absorption takes place, metabolism takes place, excretion takes place. So many things happen to the medicine. And all of those affect the dose. The dose that you are asked to take has been carefully worked on. And mathematics does not come to play here. So by the time we are trying to do mathematics with it, we might be creating harm. The fourth case, unfortunately, by the end of the 1 month, he decided to stop a medication that he was meant to take for 3 months before review. Of course, what happened? His BP just shot up, because that dose was meant to correct his blood pressure to the normal value and sustain it at that normal value. But he decided, he imagined that since it took within 1 month, it had reduced by 20 up, 20 down, that it will continue that trend. No, it doesn't work out like that. So all of these are just few examples of what I've come across in practice. And it got me thinking, why do people do what they do? If we're able to address why they do what they do, then we'll be able to solve these problems better, because we know globally that Poor adherence to medicines has cost the world a lot. Some people have lost their lives by taking overdose inadvertently. Some people have created big problems like resistance problems because they didn't take their medications as advised. Some people have also created different degrees of harm. Some people got themselves hospitalized just because they didn't take their medications appropriately. So why do people do this? If we look at, I believe so much in finding out the root causes of problems so that we can address them appropriately. So I'm designing a research to look into why people have this attitude. And my research topic is attitude of Nigerian adults to medication adherence. So I'm going to run that research and I will definitely give us a feedback when I'm done with this. I'm sure I will make a very interesting find. Thank you. I'll await your questions.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Lawal, for that educative talk. Truly, 1 plus 1 is not the same as 2 when it comes to drugs. If you have any questions for our speakers, please put them in the comment box. We move over to our next speaker, who is pharmacist Haishat Olufadi Ahmed, and she will be asking you and I a very serious question. How safe is your local beauty salon? Enjoy.
Hello, my name is Aisha Olufadi Ahmed. I'm a pharmacist and a PhD student with the University of Ibadan here in Nigeria. I have a special interest in molecular microbiology with respect to antimicrobial resistance. Now, my mission is to understand antimicrobial resistance so as to help curb this menace and prevent its future spread. Now, microbiology has always been extremely fascinating to me. The fact that microorganisms just exist, they're so tiny, we can barely see them. We can't even see them with our naked eyes except with the aid of microscopes. Yet they have such solid impacts on the lives of humans, animals, and plants alike. The fact that they just live their lives without the intention to harm people, animals, or plants. And yet this happens because just like humans, they want to live their best lives. They want to be able to go about their life wherever they find themselves, make the best of the situation and just thrive. Now, what they are doing, whether or not they're releasing products of metabolism that could affect humans, they are not even aware. I'll give an example with humans. I'm a human that enjoys taking soda. I could go outside, get myself a bottle of soda in plastic form, take the drink, quench my thirst at that moment, and dispose of the bottle without recycling. Now, at that moment, I just wanted a need to be satisfied. I didn't think of the effect of my action on the environment and other humans around me. And that is exactly how microorganisms too are. They just exist, they live their lives, they feed on the nutrients in the humans, depleting nutrients without even considering the repercussions or the implications of their existence on the host. Now, I'd like to narrow it down to a certain bug called Staphylococcus aureus. Now, Staph aureus is a cocci that it exists in cylindrical forms, and they cluster together under the microscope. They cluster together, kind of like little grapes. They are gram-nut positive in nature. Now, Staphylococcus aureus ordinarily is not pathogenic. It is not dangerous to humans because they exist in about 30% of healthy humans on our skins and in our nasal cavities. And so they shouldn't pose a threat. However, some of them are actually threatening, or all of them could be threatening depending on where they exist. They could exist as normal flora, or they could infiltrate the body and now become something called opportunistic pathogens, meaning they are not outrightly pathogenic unless they find themselves in a situation where they can exhibit certain virulent traits. Now, the Staphylococcus aureus, they can be, okay, we have newer bugs or newer strains of this Staphylococcus aureus called the methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus. Now, these ones just cropped up around the early 1900s, and they have been really worrisome because not only are they resistant to an entire class of antibiotics known as the penicillins, they're also resistant to several other classes. Many of them are also resistant to several other classes of antibiotics. Now, the The methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus can be split into two. We have the hospital-acquired MRSA and we have the community-acquired MRSA. Now, the hospital-acquired MRSA is the one that you find in the hospital. They are nosocomial infections. They are the ones that you find among healthcare professionals. They are the ones you find amongst those that may have undergone a surgery rather recently and those that may have a medical device implanted in them. Now, the community-acquired MRSA are a bit scarier because for a microorganism to be transmitted in the community means it has left the hospital setting where sick people reside to where more healthy people are, and it can be contracted by just about anybody. It means that I could just walk into a salon or anywhere and be able to get this methicillin-resistant Staph aureus because it is now in the community. Now, where it's commonly found isn't exactly well known, but it is known to be prevalent in childcare centers and places where there's a lot of sharing, kind of like among athletes or in salons where some salonists may be careless enough to use certain equipment or certain towels and the rest of them from client to client. Now, the CA-MRSA. The MRSA is the most virulent strain of Staphylococcus aureus out there, and it has the ability to deviate the action of antibiotics and, just pump them out or even produce enzymes such as the beta-lactamase that can inactivate penicillins. So you can see they can be rather scary as it is. They also produce a slime layer that offers protection to them. Now, I'd like to illustrate exactly how this superbug is transmitted from person to person in a salon setting. Now, with tools used in the salon such as the clipper, the combs, the scissors, and even towels that could be shared from person to person, this superbug is certainly going to be transmitted if it's found in the salon. Now, I assume that client A comes in to have his or her hair done, and I use this towel, I use this comb, scissors, apologies, and this clipper on person A, dust him off, tell him he looks good, and he goes home. Assuming person A had some kind of MRSA on his scalp, whether it is already symptomatic or asymptomatic, it's already on the clipper, towel, and scissors that I just used for him. Now person B walks right in. Unknown to me, this person could be immunocompromised. I use the same towel, the same scissors, and the same clipper on the same person. And I tell person B, you look good, you can leave. Person B leaves. After a while, maybe a few days, he or she could now come across certain kinds of bumps on the head or redness on the head that might look something like this right here. Could be small. Said person would tell themselves that it would leave. It might not. After a while, it expands and they might be forced to use antibiotics. When this person uses antibiotics, unfortunately, it doesn't go because, of course, MRSA does not respond to routine antibiotics that we see in the hospitals. And after a while, if left untended to, you might now have carbuncles or furuncles that may look like this on the scalp. And this would be difficult to treat and could actually lead to certain kinds of complications in the end. In a research recently conducted in a student-dominated area here in Ilorin, we realized that out of the 120 samples of salon equipment collected, we realized that we isolated about 50 Staphylococcus aureus strains. And in this 50, about 90% of them were found to be methicillin-resistant, were found to be MRSA. And this tells us that community-acquired MRSA is actually a real thing and it is present amongst us. Now, what we did was to interview some of the owners of the salons to know what they used to actually sterilize. They told us they use Dettol, they told us they use hypochlorites. So we also found in our research that the use of Dettol to clean some of this equipment helps or prevents the curbs the transfer from one person to the other. And I hope you have learned a thing or two from my presentation. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Pharmacist Olufade Ahmed, for that really exciting talk. Trust me, the next time I'm going to the beauty salon, I will be paying close attention. If you have any questions for her, please put them in the comment section. We move on to our fourth speaker of the day, Dr. Adedotun Onoyinka for Lion, and she will be talking about From Farm to Table, You Are What You Eat. Enjoy.
Hello, good morning. My name is Afolayan Adedotun. I'm a research scientist at National Center for Genetic Resources and Biotechnology, More Plantation, Ibadan. I'm part of the Soapbox speaker for 2020, and I have affinity for the environment. I love, researching about things that affect the well-being of the environment. And the topic of my Soapbox talk for today is From Farm to Table, We Are What We Eat. Why did I bring up this topic? The topic comes as a result of my PhD study at an environment that was polluted with battery waste, precisely Orile Olodo environment. And at that environment, there was a now closed down battery producing industry that engaged the service of the people that helps in waste disposal to get their waste to the landfill site. But unfortunately, these waste contractors discarded the battery waste irresponsibly in an environment they thought would not be developed, though that time it was a bush. But development has gotten to the area, and in 2005, going there with my team, the team of scientists like me, to see what's going on in the environment. We heard a lot of reports, and we heard that plants were dying, goats were aborting, chickens were dying, and that brought up an inquisitiveness in me to check what's going on in the environment. So I went to the environment. I collected the topsoil in the environment. Topsoil is the soil that is within the 0 to 15 centimeter depth layer of an environment. So I took the topsoil within this environment and I analyzed them using atomic absorption spectrophotometry procedure, which is AAS. It is simply a lab procedure. And when I checked the heavy metal concentration in this topsoil on Orile Olodo environment, I found out that there was high concentration of heavy metal, precisely lead and cadmium, within this environment. Lead and cadmium is detrimental to the health of any living organism if they get in contact with the body of the living organism. Lead and cadmium are heavy metal, and heavy metal are any metallic element that have high, density, and they can bioaccumulate within the environment. They are always very toxic. That is, they are poisonous material. So heavy metal like lead and cadmium have high concentration. According to National Environmental Standard Regulation and Enforcement Agency, NESRA, which was formerly FEPA in Nigeria, their standard limit for lead is 164 milligram per kilogram in any topsoil. But in this environment, what I found was between 4,000 and 5,000 milligram per kilogram. You can see what I'm saying, that the environment was highly polluted with heavy metals. And apart from this, the cadmium that was supposed to be 50 milligram per kilogram according to NESRA was being found in concentration between 200 and 300 milligram per kilogram. All this concentration could lead to poisoning of those that reside within the environment. And when I talk about those that reside within the environment, I'm not just talking about humans, I'm talking about everything along the food chain. Now, that brought me to another experiment that I carried out in this environment. I went as far as the fringes around the environment. I went towards the north, south, east, and west, towards this direction in 25-meter distance. I'm getting my analysis, the result of my analysis from this topsoil sample that I collected. I found out that the concentration is even similar to what was on the dump site, and then carried out an experiment using a garden. I did an experiment using maize, and I planted maize, and this maize, when planted on the farm, I harvested it, and I checked the heavy metal concentration within the root, the stem, the leaf, and the cob. Why did I choose maize? Maize is a highly consumed material, and apart from this, it belongs to the cereal family, and we have found out that plants within the cereal family have high tendency to bioaccumulate heavy metal, especially lead and cadmium. So the uptake of heavy metal by maize is high. That's why they are called bioaccumulators. They are used for phytoremediation. When I talk about grasses, they are used for phytoremediation. So I planted the maize. When I planted this maize, the uptake was significant, and I found high concentration in the root, the stem, the leaves, and the cob. This really scared me. Why? Because there is a link between anything that is planted in the soil and all the levels, all the different consumer along the food chain. When I talk about the food chain, we're talking about producers, which are this plant family. They are corn, they are, every plant that we can find within the environment are producers, because they use natural resources like sunlight, and they absorb nutrients from the soil, and they produce food that we all consume. So this maize was looking for nutrients in the soil. Unfortunately, it picked up heavy metal. Heavy metal, like lead and cadmium, they are cations. They are similar to sodium, to magnesium, to potassium, which are nutrients, all macronutrients needed by maize to grow, needed by all these other plants to grow. Eventually, maize bioaccumulates the heavy metal. I went as far as checking this heavy metal in the living organism within the environment. I purchased some chicks within the environment, and I also find significant concentration of heavy metal in these chicks. I also went as far as getting from a reputable farm day-old chicks that were not polluted, that were not contaminated, that did not have any heavy metal within them, lead and cadmium within them, and exposing them to the maize that I grew in the Olodo environment. I found out that they also bioaccumulate the heavy metal within them. What's bioaccumulation? Bioaccumulation is when an element or a toxic material, it got into the body of a living organism in a concentration that is correlating with that which is within the environment, and it is also it gets to be increasing from time to time due to the exposure. So what's my message in this talk? The Soapbox Science have brought me out to tell us that we are responsible for what happens in the environment, and whatever we do in the environment eventually will get back to us. There is a food chain. There is a linear food chain that goes from the sun through the plant to the other lower animals and then to man. Man is at the highest part of the food chain. If we are not careful, everything that is detrimental that we are doing to the soil will eventually get to us. My message is good management of the environment is a collective responsibility of everyone, and whatever we do to the environment will eventually get to us. So from farm to table, we all are what we eat. I want to say that everyone should join hands together to make our environment habitable. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Afolayan, for that really interesting talk. If you have any questions, don't forget to put them in the comment section, please. Now we move on to our next speaker, Dr. Titilola Falsat Salisu, and she will be talking about sense in STEM. Enjoy.
Soapbox Science, because I am Dr. Mrs. Salisu Titilola, a female scientist who's going to be sharing STEM beyond the streets. Yes, anywhere you may be right now, in any part of the world, Asia, Europe, Africa, South America, and even North America, you're going to be enjoying science like never before. Hence, my talk title today is Sense in STEM. Is there any really sense in STEM? Let's find out. But before I do that, I'm sure you'll be wondering what I have inside this gift bag. Yes, I brought something nice for you. Let's find out what is inside the bag. I take a dip. Wow! See and sick. We have eyes to see. Yes. What else do we need? We need much more than our eyes to actually see. And what do we need? It is actually science. Science will enable you to see clearly and develop curiosity towards your observation, and you begin to wonder, what exactly is this? So you have a question mark. Why is it like this? How is it wrapped? What happened to it? When did it occur? All these questions and much more are dug into to provide solutions to problems. Hence, with scientific knowledge are applied in everyday life. In fact, life is unimaginable without science. Even that your beautiful smile, there is science behind it. Let's drop it. Let's think again. I want to take another thing. That's a clue. We actually going to think and give it a try. Yeah, you need our brain to think actually there, but we need much more, just like science. But what do we need? Wow, tech. It is technology. We actually need technology to develop critical thinking towards solving a problem and making life easier. I'm sure you know so many applications of technology we have out there. For example, I'm standing right here, I'm expressing myself, I'm giving a talk on STEM, and you are out there all over the world, you can listen to me. That is the power of technology. With the internet and device and so many other things that is making life easier. I dropped this as well. Yes, let's go explore. That's another clue. Yeah, we are going to actually explore as well. And when we do that, we want to experience wonderful things. And before we can explore and experience, we actually need something again. And that is what? Engineering. Yes, the engineering, the knowledge and application of engineering will enable you to actually implement the scientific knowledge and the tech knowledge both physically and mentally. I mean, we can see the construction of houses, the cars, the bridges, our roads, and even the computers. They are all developed by the applications of engineering. So you can see it's a powerful tool as well. I dropped this. I'm not through yet. I'm sure you know the last one already. Here we want to actually make something. You can see pi, square roots, graph. I mean, what's she talking about? Triangles. We want to make something with this and manifest. Before we can do that, what do we need? It is actually mathematics. Mathematics will enable you to be organized, accurate, precise, and I mean, before you can calculate anything, you need mathematics. You can use to forecast. You can use to solve problems in the real sense of it. For example, mathematical models are applied in the measurement of any constructions of any structures, measurement of the materials of any structures we want to construct, the length of the power cable from one place to another, as well as the growth of microorganisms and so much more. You can see mathematics is also a powerful tool for us to have a comfortable life. So here, I have brought science, technology, engineering and mathematics, and I love all of them all. I want to have them because I need them to solve a problem. Or instead of carrying all of them about, they have all come together in one and have the last day. Wow, I finally have my stem. Yes, in this stem I can now see and think while I think and give it a try, which will make me to explore and experience, and as well as making wonderful things for me to manifest. So I have my stem all in one, beautiful Andy, all in one. So I'll just use this knowledge and apply it in one all together. So now I have brought the stem. Exactly the sense is this stem I've been making noise about. What is the sense in it? The sense in it is the integrative knowledge and collaborative skills in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics to recognize a problem and provide sustainable solutions to the problems. So, STEM is to this and tomorrow's solution. So, what have we been doing with this STEM? As a female scientist and my other team, we have been working so hard to use this STEM to cope COVID-19. It's no longer news that the outbreak hits everybody all over the world. Yes, but we have been able to use the STEM. The science has been used to recognize the disease, the cause, and we are using to develop drugs as well as the vaccines. Why the technology have been used in so many other places. I mean, imagine you are approaching a medical center and you have something like a device, a device like be telling you, man, step back, your temperature is high. That's what they call robot. That is the application of artificial intelligence, and that is the power of technology. And the engineering as well. We have so many hand wash stations. We have portable ventilator. we have infrared thermometer. All these are built to curb the spread, and so many mathematical models are being developed to monitor the extent of the spread of the COVID-19. All these and much more are being used to curb the spread. Now, this science is a superb knowledge to have. Technology is a treasure everybody should hold, while the engineering is exceptional. And of course, mathematics is meritorious. So for us to be super smart in solving problems, we need to be STEM sound. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Salisu, for that really engaging talk on science in STEM. Please remember that you can post your questions for our speakers in the comment box. And with that, we come to our last but definitely not the least speaker of the day, Dr. Titi Lola Aderonke Samuel, and she will be talking about your genesis, how inherited genes predetermine your life. Enjoy.
My name is Aderonke Samuel, and I am a biochemist from the Department of Biochemistry, College of Medicine, University of Lagos. I am also the Deputy Director, Academic Planning, University of Lagos. I am happy to be on Soapbox Science, the Lagos edition, November 2020. And it's my privilege and pleasure to be part of this gathering. The title of my soapbox talk is The Genesis, how the gene predetermines who you are. And that's the title. Now, as a biochemist, I work as a scientist. And the area of my research is how the genes that we carry and inherit from our parents would predispose us to either who we are or to some diseases. We have over 37.2 trillion cells in our body. And most of these cells have the center which we call the nucleus. The nucleus carries the genetic materials. It's actually the information that will tell the child who the child will be, these genetic materials. And in the nucleus is what we have as the DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid. The DNA carries the information from the parent through the RNA, the ribonucleic acid, and then to form protein. The DNA is made up of bases, and there are two types of bases. We have the purine bases and the pyrimidine bases. And the purine bases are adenine and guanine. The pyrimidine bases are cytosine and thymine. And when you have your DNA, it is always a purine base being joined together with a pyrimidine base. The DNA comes as a double helix, long and winding. But each portion is called a gene, and each portion carries specific information, meaning the DNA carries informations. So each portion of the DNA is called a gene, and the gene carries information, and that information gives the characteristics of what the daughter or what the child or the progeny would be. So the gene would tell us, will this child be tall? Will this child have brown eyes or blue eyes that we are just seeing in recent times? Will this child's hair be short? Will this child's hair be long? Will this child be very fair? Whatever you are is determined by the information that is in the gene. And generally, you will always inherit half of your genes from your mother and half from the father. And it is the half from parents 1 and parent 2 that comes together to give you a whole. And that's why even if you put children of the same parents together, they will look alike, but they will not be the same because they have inherited different things from their parents. Now, what I have here, I have grandfather A and grandmother A. Don't forget I told you that we will inherit half of our genes from grandfather A and half from grandmother A. And it is half and half that will give child to child A. So I will randomly pick half from grandfather A and randomly also pick half from grandmother A. And that is what makes child A. Now, whether child A is a man, is female or male, is determined by father. So in this situation, I will assume that this child has inherited the ability to become a male from the father. So this is boy A. Also, this is grandfather B and grandmother B. The child, randomly, I'm also going to pick half from grandfather B, and I'm going to pick randomly half of the genetic material from grandmother B. Now, we're done with the grandparents. And because child B did not inherit the ability to be male, so I will assume that child B is female. Now, if male child A and female child B comes together, they meet and they fall in love and they have children, I'm going to randomly also pick half from child A, that is male, and child B, that is female, and they have a child. Now, this child 1 here carries some genetic materials from the grandparents, which the male child A got, and it is now on child 1. If I return and I do for child 2 and child 3 and child 4, each of those children will inherit something from their parents, and they might or might not inherit from the grandparents. And that is how genetic inheritance works. Definitely, each of the children will get something from their parents, but it is possible that they get nothing from that. There's a child that gets nothing from any of the grandparents, meaning that there are some genetic things that will be passed to the children, to this child 1 that is male, that might not be passed to the children that these two will have eventually. And there might be some things from the grandparents passed on to these children, to this male and female, that these children will also have. And that is how come we say that the gene, what you inherit, predetermines who you are. Now, one of the things, like I said, is that all these things you inherit makes you the unique you. It gives you your own particular traits. It makes you to be how short you are, how fat you are, how slim you are. Are your iris red? Are they brown? Are they purple? Are they blue? Will your hair be long? Will your hair be short? Whatever you are, whoever you are, is inherited down the line. But apart from the physical traits, I hope we remember that I said that your DNA carries information that can also produce proteins, and some of the proteins that can produce will also be some enzymes. Generally, enzymes will determine how reactions goes, and some other molecules that are important to our being predisposed to either a sickness or a disease. So, in my own research, one of the things I work with is called the breast cancer gene 1. Breast cancer gene 1 is a gene that you will inherit. And when you inherit the gene, it actually is a gene that will always repair the DNA. And once the DNA is repaired, the DNA will not overproduce and you will not have cancer. So if you inherit this breast cancer gene 1 or BRCA1 as we call it, it can tell you whether you will have this gene that will help you to repair the DNA and that will not make you to be predisposed to cancer. One of the popular Hollywood entertainers looked back and said, mother died from breast cancer, cousin from breast cancer, and all before age 50. Sister, breast cancer. I mean, she looked back and thought 4 people around my family died from breast cancer. What do? She went for a genetic test. And these days, there are so many genetic tests that you can carry out that will tell you, are you predisposed to this disease because you did not inherit this gene? And so she went for a BRCA1 genetic testing. And that test told her, indeed, you did not inherit it. And because you did not inherit it, you cannot make it. And because you cannot make it, your chances of also having breast cancer is also very high. And so what did she do? Science has come to help us. She decided to remove the 2 breasts so that her predisposition to breast cancer is reduced. And that is one importance of genetic testing. It will help us to know whether we should go ahead or what we should do, the drug to use, what to do to boycott this disease, or to make sure that, oh, we are good, we will not have this disease. Now, we come to the year 2019 to 2020. The year 2019 is a very, very important year that ended by the outbreak of the COVID-19. And in the year 2020, we see how COVID-19 has ravaged our community, actually the world at large. What have we found out in genetics? Now, I told you that becoming who you are, whether male or female, you get that from your father. Your father gives either an X or a Y chromosome to make you a male or a female. Now, research has found out that there are more males that have a very bad experiences when they get COVID-19. So more males succumb to COVID-19. And that has been proven through research. And that is genetics coming into being, telling us that, look, that you are a male is actually a predisposing factor to you getting COVID-19. And that is the beauty of the gene. And especially now that research and science is moving us towards being able to test what gene you have inherited, what gene you have not inherited, how is the gene going to affect you, how is the gene going to affect an unborn child, what you can do with the gene that you have inherited. And that is why, like I said, you can look at a whole family tree and you can see that, oh, this disease runs in the family. And if you can do a genetic testing, you can then stop the disease. You can also look at a family and all of them look alike, but not similar, because they have inherited something from the grandparents, from the parents. But each of them are unique individuals because all that has happened is that they have taken half and half and half and half to become a whole and to become the unique individual. And that is why I have titled my talk this day as Your Genesis. The gene is the beginning, your origin. And your origin, which is determined by the gene that you get from your DNA, will predetermine the unique you and who you are. So it is indeed your genesis. The gene predetermines you and makes you the unique you. I want to say a big thank you for the opportunity given to me to be part of the Soapbox Science Lagos 2020. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Titilola Aderonke Samuel, for that inspirational and educative talk on our genesis, how inherited genes predetermine our life. And a massive thank you to all our 2020 speakers for sharing their science with the public. I'm sure if we were in a lecture hall, we would be hearing a resounding applause. So whoever in your house, please give an applause to all our speakers right now. It has truly been an exciting time. And not last but not the least, no means least, thank you, our audience. We're very sure you enjoyed listening to our speakers. Have you learned a thing or two? Would you like to share that in the chat box? Just pause and drop that comment right now. We welcome your feedback. As you see right now, a link will be appearing in the chat box. If it is not already there, please click it to give us your feedback so we can improve, we can share with our speakers what you really liked, and begin to get ready for next year. You know what is happening on Saturday and Sunday? We're delighted to invite you, our special audience, to our live question and answer session happening this weekend. Yes, on Saturday and Sunday, the 7th and the 8th of November at 1 and 4 p.m. West African time. For my Nigerian friends, that is Niger time. Not Niger time for lateness. So that's 1 p.m. on Saturday and 4 p.m. on Sunday. Come join our speakers live session. Find out how they got to where they are in their career. Ask questions about their research. Whether you want to pop in and say hello, you want to put a face to a name, or you have important questions you would really like answered, please do join us on our very first online interactive session with the 2020 Soapbox Science Lagos November session speakers. We would really love to have you there. Okay? Yes. So, moving on, I would so very much love to thank all our sponsors. The event has kindly been supported by all these sponsors: Elias and Associates, Alpha Pharmacy and Clinic, Successful Students Mentoring, and Encapsulate Healthcare Solutions. We say thank you. I myself, Dr. Orede Anijirego, on behalf of the team, and I'm sure the audience would like to say thank you to all our sponsors and supporters. You have indeed made Soapbox Science a reality for our Nigerian female researchers in different areas of science, technology, engineering, maths, and medicine. Thank you, our audience, for participating. Now, are you a researcher in any of the areas of STEM? That's science, technology, engineering, maths, or medicine? We would like to hear from you. Email us today to register your interest for Soapbox Science Lagos November 2021 session. Yes, we're getting ready and recruitment is starting. So send that email to register your interest. You don't want to be left out. Okay? Thank you once again for being a part of our November 2020 Soapbox Science Lagos November event. It has been a pleasure. So don't forget, tomorrow, Saturday, and then on Sunday, your chance to get to interact with all our 2020 speakers. Thank you very much. God bless you and see you at the weekend. Goodbye.